very quickly they closed the door and they said, no, I don't want anything to, like, I don't want to listen to you. And so, at that point, I was just in the middle of the village, and I was crying and thinking, what was I going to do?
Welcome to the Less Trodden Path podcast, a dedication to untangling the world in a raw and honest way, following your gut and your dreams, no matter what they may be. Often they are different to what is known as the norm, a step out of the comfort zone, the path less tread. We are here to help inspire you to take your own path by sharing both our own journey and the stories of others too, making it clear along the way that anyone can do it, whatever it may be, with all the ups and downs, the good, the bad, the pretty, the ugly included. Dreams take time, but if you put your all into it, time doesn't mean anything. This week we speak to a good family friend of mine, Pascale. And to say we were left inspired and full of excitement after this conversation is an understatement. Pascale shares her dream and journey of the 4 months she spent hiking from her front door in Belgium to the edge of the Atlantic Ocean in Santiago de Compostela. You may have heard about this hike before, however here is an upfront, raw and honest story from Pascale herself, who took on this life dream challenge of hers in full swing, alone, with no stopping until the finish line, no matter what was thrown in her way. As well as her story in these 4 months, Pascale shares the effects of her journey once home and the main outcome she gained from the whole experience. You are loved, always, and everything you need, you already have. We had plenty of questions to ask her, and though there's plenty more we'd love to know, for now, here is Pascale's very own Less Trodden Path.
No spending my savings, cause I don't have any. There's too many places to go. I'll be spending all my time living out my bucket.
Hey, how are you?
I'm fine, and you?
Good, thank you. Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I can hear you well.
Awesome. Well, we can hear you just fine as well, which is really cool. But how are you? How was your day?
It was a nice day. I spent it renovating my house, the house that I just bought. Yeah,
that's so cool. What's like the renovation like?
It's I'm learning many things. I'm doing things I've never done before. I don't know how to say that in English actually. Putting the tiles on the wall, and doing so many things, carpentry,
wow.
many things.
That's so cool. How long have you been doing it for now?
I've had the house since beginning of December.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, so it's quite new, and I'm hoping to move there maybe in 1 month.
Wow.
Something like that.
So is there like a lot to do?
Yes, it's an old house. So it's a house from 1900.
Wow.
And it didn't. They didn't make any work on it during maybe the last 30 years. So it's very old and very ugly, to be honest. but it has I think it has a lot of potential. So we'll see. But
oh, that's so cool. That's really awesome. Is it something that you've always wanted to do? Or
yes, that's one of the things I dreamt to do. I was thinking either I was going to live in a kind of a tiny house or something like that, or I was going to buy an old house and try to learn how to renovate it.
Yeah, wow.
That's so cool.
That's really awesome. It's so, I guess like kind of, what's the word? Like obviously it's quite a bit of a popular thing at the moment. Quite a few people are renovating and up.
It's starting to become a popular thing, eh?
Yeah,
and it's really cool.
Yeah, knowing that you've just dived into it is so cool.
Yeah, but I'm very lucky because I have a little bit of help with my family, my parents, because I'm not sure I would have gone with this house if I had been completely alone working on it. But I'm very lucky.
Yeah. That's so awesome. So, like you've obviously said, you've kind of always wanted to do it. Have you been looking for it for the house, in particular, for a while, or were you also looking for like the perfect one, or that could be the perfect one, or have you was this one that just kind of came up?
It just kind of came up because I was thinking I would have to look for a very long time, because the market in Belgium is quite it's difficult to find a house, and a cheap house. So I was thinking I would have to look for a long time, but I was very lucky because I just began to look for maybe 3 weeks.
Oh wow!
And it was only the second house that I visited, and when I came into the house, I was with my mother at the time, and I looked at her and I said to her, okay, this is the one. This is the one, I'm sure of it. And I don't know, I felt it.
Yeah, that's magical when you know. That's really awesome.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Really awesome. Nice. Well, obviously, the whole kind of house conversation sounds amazing, but obviously we were kind of jumping into the to your, what was it, 4 months of walking from Belgium to, was it the south of Spain?
Yeah, it's until the Atlantic Ocean, so until Santiago de Compostela.
Nice. So, I mean, do you just want to tell us the whole story? Or kind of how did you go from, deciding to do this, or even hearing about this walk, to deciding to do it, to, when, like, how did you just go about it, and how was the whole walk, and how were your feet and your legs? Like, it just sounds incredible, and I think it's, walking for that amount of time is definitely something that Ben and I would really like to do. Yeah. So listening to your story is just go for it.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'm really I'm wishing it to you both to be able to do that kind of adventure, because it was amazing. And how did I first heard about it? It was actually my dad, when he was young, he did a part of the St. James pilgrimage, so a part of the way. And when I was little, he was talking to us, telling us how he had loved the experience, and it was not really the same thing, because he was accompanying a group, and he was in a jeep and getting them food and stuff. Okay. And so he was telling us all about it, and I don't know if my brother was very sensitive to it, but I mean, it was the first time I've heard of Santiago de Compostela, and I remember putting a poster of the hikes until Compostela when I was 9, maybe, above my bed. And so it has been a dream it was a dream from a very, very long time. And then the dream stayed a dream for many years. And it was difficult to find the amount of time to do it, but I knew that if I was hiking this hike one day, it would be from Belgium to the end. Because I know that many people, it's quite a popular way, so many people take the summer holiday and sometimes do 1 month or 2 weeks of the walk, and they go back to the place they have finished the previous year, and they continue. But I was really dreaming of doing this, like just take my bag, close the door, and walking from my family home to the end of the way. Wow. And so it was really a dream. So the dream only became a project when I turned 30 years old, because for a few reasons, I was doing a second round of study, because I first studied literature, and then I worked for a while, and then I decided to change career completely. And I studied to become a nurse, so it was very different. And I was thinking when I was doing the nurse studies, which were quite difficult, and I thought when I finished the study, just before I was going to start working as a nurse, this would be like the perfect time to go on an adventure and like start a new chapter and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I finished the studies in it was in June, and maybe 3 days after having the diploma, after the graduation, I was going, and I left.
Such a cool way to celebrate and to, like you said, start a new chapter and almost close a chapter as well. That's that's really cool.
Really like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have to like train before, or did you just step out the door and just go for it?
Did you do some long walks before?
I didn't really train for this. I just went because I didn't really have the time to train before that, because I was doing internships with the nursing studies, and it was I could prepare for my equipment, but I didn't really have any training. The only thing I did is the year before I went on a test hike. I went into Scotland, and I hiked on my own for 7 days on the West Highland Way. I don't know if you heard of this hike.
Yeah.
And this was the test round, and I wanted to see, not really physically, but I wanted to see if mentally I was prepared to walk on my own, and because I'm rather shy, and I can get lonely quite easily.
Yeah.
So this was really my test, but no other training.
Wow, that's so awesome. So how did
mental training is like more necessary?
Yeah, definitely. How did you kind of, find the whole? I mean, 4 months is obviously a long time, but how did you find, the going from no real training to walking? Did you walk every single day for 4 months?
Almost every single day. There was maybe 3 days during that time where I didn't walk, and sometimes I did a very short distance during the day, but sometimes quite a long distance. So it really it varied from day to day. But at the beginning, I think the trick is to not to rush at the beginning. Even if you want to go fast, because you're like, it's the beginning, you're very like full of energy, and and you're still fresh. But I had to think, okay, I'm only going to do like 20 kilometers, 22 kilometers, but not more, because I didn't want to have a physical trouble. I've heard of people going too fast at first and who had to go back home because they had tendinitis and other health problems.
Wow,
that is crazy. Like,
when you went on the Scotland trip, for example, like where did you do like staying in a tent, or staying, like how did you prepare for that part of it, like where you stay? And
when I was in Scotland, I decided to take my tent and be as self-sufficient as possible, and so I decided to take also a very lightweight tent with me when I went for the St. James Way. But at first, when I was in Belgium, I had decided to go and knock on doors and ask for hospitality during the evenings. This was very, very challenging, because I thought I had I had no right or no excuse for imposing on people like that. So asking for that kind of help, especially when I was very close to home, like maybe the second day I was only 30-ish kilometers from home, so it was very, very close. And so going and knocking on the first door and asking if I could. I had the tent, so I could ask only to put the tent in the garden, but it was still very challenging to ask. So I wanted to meet people on the way, so I knew that as long as I was at the beginning of the way, you don't have many other people walking it, so you can still go and knock on doors and ask people. But the further you go, the more people there is on the way, and so at some point you cannot do that anymore because people would be so annoyed for so many pilgrims like going and asking. So at first I did that, but I still had the tent as a backup plan.
Yeah. Did you ever get told that you couldn't? Did people say no, or how often did that happen?
How do you deal with that rejection?
Yeah.
It was actually some of the most challenging moments. There were a few nights like this, but really maybe 3 or 4 during the whole trip. But it was difficult. I had one night in mind where I was in a small village in France, and I went knocking on doors, and also, unfortunately, at that time, I had a very bad eye infection. So my eyes were really red. So this is not like the best thing when you want to ask for hospitality, because people look at you and say, okay, is she smoking something? I was knocking on doors, and I felt like a bad vibe, like nobody wanted to really listen to me, or they were very quickly they closed the door and they said, no, I don't want anything to I don't want to listen to you, and so at that point I was just in the middle of the village, and I was crying and thinking, what was I gonna do? But each time there was that kind of situation, I always had someone to help. Like that day I had walked and I didn't see anyone except I was walking along a river, not a river, a canal. I don't know if you say that in English. Yeah. And I crossed paths with people on a boat, and they waved to me, and we talked like for maybe 1 minute. And those were the only people I saw during the whole day. And when I was crying in the village, that very person, like who was on the boat, he stopped that village at that moment, and he asked me. He said, "Oh, okay, we saw you earlier, so what happened to you?" And then I could talk with him, and actually I slept on their boat that night.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That is like the universe is just like, you cross paths, and then you might never see him again, and then when you need someone, he comes again, and wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and those kind of synchronicities, they are all over the place when you walk that walk. In any walk, I think, any kind of experiences like that, I think you can find that kind of synchronicities everywhere if you just are open to it and make yourself vulnerable. And
definitely,
and that's what one of the biggest thing I learned during the way. It was that I just had to trust, and what was gonna happen, what was gonna be the right thing.
Did you feel like it was the right thing, or were you a bit unsure?
I really felt it was the right thing, because even the challenging things during the way, I felt each time I had a challenge, I knew after this challenge was over that it was exactly what I needed at that point to push myself a little bit further and to learn something. So each time.
That's a really cool story.
A powerful lesson.
Would you say that that's your toughest moment of the whole 4 months, or were there others? Was there a tougher one?
There was, I have to be honest, there was quite a few. They're definitely not the majority of moments, of course. But there was one other tough moment. I know it may sound a little bit silly, but when I was at the end of the way, at the very end, I was in Spain, maybe 1 week before finishing. I had my family on the phone, and they told me that my cat, which I left home, was not doing well at all. And I know it's just a cat, but to me it was a pet that I had at a very difficult time of my life. So it was during the last 10 years, and I had a bit of trouble, and so it was symbolic of that period. And just before I finished the way, like, she wasn't doing well, and actually she died the next day. And so I knew it was not, like, in the eyes of other people when I talked about it on the way, like, people were like, okay, but it's a cat, and so it's not very important. But for me it was difficult because I had at the end of the way, I was very, very tired in every sense of the word. I was exhausted because I had met so many different people. It's very intense. It's like you live a full life in a few months. It's very, very intense. So I was physically tired. I was mentally tired, and this was the breaking cherry point. On top. It was exactly like that. And so that was a difficult moment, but it made me, when I went through it, and then there was the end of the way, and I went to Santiago de Compostela, and then I went until the ocean a little bit further. I felt like everything was how to say that, I felt washed. I don't know how to say that in a different way. Like every feeling had gone out of me, and I felt ready for new things. And it's difficult for me to express it because, as you can hear, my English is not my first language. But
I mean, you can always say it in French if you want, and I can try and translate.
Yeah, you're making sense
as well. But you are definitely making sense. That's I mean, obviously, we've never kind of done something as crazy as that, but we can definitely relate in, like, how you might feel at the end. And I don't, like, where do you even start? I mean, what was the most that you walked, or how many kilometers did you walk in total?
In total, it was around 2,500 kilometers.
Wow. That sounds awesome. What was the most you walked in a day, and then the least?
There were some crazy days in Spain where I was very much in shape, and so I did the longest day I did 47.
Wow. Nice.
But this was the exception. Because that's that kind of hike, you don't want to rush it. You want to enjoy it, like, every day.
Did you ever have, obviously you said that you had 3 days where you didn't hike, did you ever kind of do, like, shorter hikes to then visit some places, or, did you ever did you always stay on the track, or did you ever wander off because there was something that you really wanted to see?
I was a bit also on a less Trodden path during my way, because
nice.
when I went from Belgium, you have some how to say, you have hikes which are historical hikes that you should take if you want to do, like, the historical itinerary. But I wanted to go on a different one, which is more south. So at some point I left the official way, and I went straight south to rejoin a different historical hike to St. James.
Wow.
So this I did totally on my own, and there was nobody else on the way, because it was not an official way. So I went a bit off track at that time, and but the days I stopped were days I wanted to enjoy some place, and I wanted to, especially I wanted to rest. But I don't know. Everybody would tell you different on the way, but for me, it wasn't at all a touristic trip. So even when I was in cities and I thought, oh, maybe I should visit this or I should visit that, it was really meeting the other people and just I took everything in, but I never really wanted to visit places like I would do on a city trip or something like that. So
that's fair enough.
It's like a different experience, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a very different experience, and even in the big cities in Spain, where you could visit many things, you found that many pilgrims they stick together and they spend time together, and there's so many things to share with each other and to discuss that this is really the focus, the focal point for many pilgrims. Yeah.
How many, like, were you alone or by yourself more than you were with others, or did you actually end up being with more people than you were by yourself?
I was more by myself than with people, because often I would be with people during the evening. Yeah. At least for the second half of the way, because the first half was from Belgium, so I only crossed paths with one or other, like a few people, maybe 4 people. But after that, during the day, I was trying to walk alone as much as I could, because it was one of the reasons I went on that hike was to get more confidence.
Yeah.
When I had trouble in the past, I felt I was not strong enough for some things. I was relying too much on my close family, especially, and I thought if I can do this way during a few months, and I can go through it and be mostly alone, I would go out of it like stronger.
That's awesome.
But there was still some periods of time for a few days where I was walking with a group or with one or 2 people. So it happened too, but mostly I was on my own.
Wow. Is there anyone that stands out that you met for good or bad reasons that you could talk about?
Yeah, for good reasons, really. There are a few people, I would say a handful of people, but 4 months is short, but at the same time it's quite long. So there is one girl with who I worked quite a few days in France. And we are still very close even now, even with COVID, and we cannot visit each other, but we still talk every week. And she was I was really glad. It was really nice meeting her, but I think she was also a challenge for me, because I have trouble putting boundaries when it comes to other people. And when I met her, she really wanted to walk with someone, and when we had done a few days together, she was really thinking that we would go until the end of the way together. When we stayed at some places during the night, she was saying, okay, I'm gonna call this dormitory, and we will book there, and we will stay there. And she was always speaking in we. Yeah. And I really loved walking with her, but it was a challenge for me. But at some point, I had to say to her, okay, maybe we don't have to plan like everything together, and maybe at some point I would like to walk alone again. Then we can, if the universe wants it, then we will find each other again and walk a little bit together again. It's one of the great thing with this way is you're not forced to be with anyone. Everybody understand that at some point they need to walk alone, or they want to be with other people. Everybody understands.
Yeah. Wow. So how did you kind of find being by yourself so much? Like, I don't know. It just
came up?
Yeah,
If you want to
because
go that deep.
obviously not many people can be by themselves like that, and not many people can just kind of live without having a distraction. And don't get me wrong, it sounds incredible, and I'm all for time by yourself and that, but how did you find it? Like, what came up, like Ben said, and what just, I don't know, what was your experience with being by yourself for so long?
At first, I was expecting that very quickly I would have like some kind of if you walk a long time by yourself, you think, okay, I'm gonna think about my life, and I will have like some revelations, or I will. And the thing that was strange is that I walked for quite a bit of time at first, and I was always I was thinking about stuff, but it was not like life changing as I expected it to be. Like from the beginning, first you really think of very practical things. You're worried about your feet. You're worried about where you're gonna sleep during the night. You're worried about what you're gonna eat, and it takes quite a bit of time of being on your own to really begin to dig deeper and have some life-changing moments. But it doesn't happen like very quickly, or I could not pinpoint at like the time, the moment where something switched, or I don't know. So it was how could I describe it? It's very difficult actually to describe. I thought it was one of the best things that happened in my life, because it put everything in perspective. Every choice that I could have made before, every choice that I could make in the future, I felt very detached from everyone and everything. But at the same time, I felt very connected with the world. So I felt a bit, it's a very cliche, but I felt like anything is possible, because I just had, three, like 2 t-shirts with me, one short, and almost nothing on my back, and and I felt like I could do anything. I could make any choice, and everything was going to work out okay, because it did on the way. So why it would still be like that when I finished the way? So it was a simple way to live, and I think if you do it on your own, the time when you're alone, you can think clearer, and you can really absorb everything that surrounds you, and also it's easier to meet other people.
Wow.
It's really I think I was so lucky to be able to go alone.
That's amazing.
The thing I was surprised is that many people ask me, but you're not afraid because you're a woman and you're alone, and and I've never been worried about that, and really it's a very safe, and you're in the countryside most of the time, so I never had any trouble, so I didn't feel any kind of fear.
Wow. I guess in some ways having to like ask people if you can camp in their garden, and it probably opens you up to seeing that the world's maybe a bit safer than you would think, eh? Do you feel like... I just...
Definitely.
I don't even know where... How do you even... Can you like just go through like how you would approach asking somebody to stay. That's the bit that's fascinating me the most, because that honestly for me feels like something I really want to have a go at, because that is like the definition of putting yourself out of your comfort zone, because it's such an intrusive thing to ask someone.
But also alongside that, what about like food? How did you get food? Did you have to ask them for food as well?
Well, at first I limited myself to just ask for a bit of garden, or like not to impose when I knocked on doors, because this was for me the easiest way of going about it, and I found that it was really amazing, especially the first days in Belgium, that I didn't ask for anything, but people gave me everything that I needed.
Nice.
It was really amazing. Like the first night that I went and knocked on the door, it was I think one of the best experiences on the way, because I knocked on their door, and it was this old woman who opened. And she was very afraid at first, because she had heard that there had been thieves going into the other houses around, and so she was thinking maybe I was doing like watching what was on in her house, and I was gonna call someone after and to rob a home. And then we went from that, so she was very afraid, not opening the door, very just a slight opening of the door, and she told me, you can put your tent in the garden next to the house. And after maybe 20 minutes of talking with her, she was coming back each time with something more. So she came first with a blanket, then she came with something to eat. Then she opened up her garden door, and she said to me, okay, you can go anytime if you need the bathroom or anything. Wow. And then the next morning, she invited me to have breakfast with her. Wow. And then so we went from really, she was afraid, and then after I was like, welcome, like her family or something. Wow. And there were many experiences like that all along the way. So people are really much more open than we may think at first.
Yeah, that's really cool.
How did you assess the house to like approach, or did you just go at random, or did you like scope it first?
At first, I was so afraid to do that I was thinking, okay, if I see something, I have to have a sign from people in the house, or so if I saw someone going out of the house and to the car, maybe it was a sign, and I could go to them and ask. But it took me maybe 3 different people going out of the house before I was brave enough to go and ask. So I think I chose the most welcoming looking house. So not it's not a question of a big house, but when you feel like there are I don't know how to say, but a nicely tended garden. You see that it's welcoming, and then you say, okay, I'm gonna try. But it's really I think everything happens for a reason, so I really think that. So each time I knocked on the door, almost each time, it was the perfect place to stay in, and I met like amazing people.
Yeah, that's really cool. Are you when you obviously you said about you had 2 t-shirts and a short, like what did you pack? What if someone wants to do this walk, what do they need to pack? What did you have with you?
Yeah. What did you have with you that you wish you didn't as well? Like, did you bring anything that you thought,
that's a good question. But because I read so many different documentations and stuff. I've seen so many videos of people doing the way before going on my way, and so I was pretty prepared when I went. So there's not many things that I had with me that I wish I didn't. But they say when you prepare your bag that if you carry too much weight, usually you carry your fears. So it's a very interesting thing. But maybe I wish at some point I didn't bring a tent.
Oh wow!
And I would have, well, I maybe I should have trusted the way and the people I met, because I could not have needed. Sometimes I chose the easy way, and I went sometimes into campings, and those were not the best nights, because I felt well, there were many people on holiday, and then you feel a bit excluded, and you're on a different kind of way. So yeah, maybe I wish I didn't bring a tent, but that would have been so daring.
Yeah, a different experience.
But there are many people who do it, and they are just fine. So maybe that's the thing I could not have brought with me. But other than that, you bring very little with you, because on this way, well, you can find food. There's no problem to get to a pharmacy, or you're not in the in the wild, like when you do like the long distance hikes in the United States. That would be a very different kind of trip. This trip it's not very difficult. You don't cross, except the Pyrenees, but you don't cross huge mountains where you would have to pack so many layers and stuff. So it's really a question of well, I had two t-shirts, two shorts. I didn't have any shoes to change in, so I had only my one pair of shoes, and my tent, just a blanket and a sweater, and almost nothing else. I decided not to take with me a thing to cook. So I thought I was gonna eat raw, or I was gonna trust what I found on the way. Yeah. So my bag was very lightweight, and I think it was one of the things that made it easier on me. Yeah,
that's good to know. I liked the comment about the more like packing your fears. I really like that, because I think that's very, very true. We can definitely relate, because we definitely have too much in the van that we don't need.
Like we were worried about before we came out. Yeah. And now we're here. It's like
now, like half of it hasn't been touched, but that's very true.
I think it's a nice process too. When you're on the way, and then you can at different points of your trip, then you can remove some things, and like. There was at some point I sent my tent home through mail. Yeah. And it felt very liberating, and awesome. I felt very like happy to do it. So I think it's good also not to think too much before you go, but then like you do in your van, I'm sure at some point you're gonna release some things and just get lighter.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Really
we need
cool.
to. It's so cool. It's so like this is like truly. It's making me really excited to like want to do something like it. Yeah. I mean, where do you begin when you finished it? Like, how did you begin? Just like was it weird to just go back?
Well,
like,
I guess what was the first thing that you did? Firstly, and then what was the process of returning home and living life again?
It was quite challenging, but I was very exhausted, as I said. So I didn't have at first. I really just needed to rest. So when I came back, actually I felt ill when I went back. So I think my body was really tired. But it was the weeks after I felt really good, because everything that I had around me I felt very grateful for, because some things I had missed during the way. So it was a very it was not very hard to get back, but it's more somebody said to me on the way that when you do this pilgrimage until the end, and then you go back in a fast way, I mean by train or by car, or sometimes people go back by plane. I didn't want to go back by plane because it's like you walk 4 months and then in 1 hour you're back in Belgium.
Yeah.
So this is too quick. So I took a bus to go back, but still it was in 48 hours I was back in Belgium. So it's very strange. But some people told me that the body go back very quick, but the mind, it takes the same times to go there, and then it takes your mind 4 months to get back to.
Yeah.
So I felt this was very, very real. It's only after a bit of time that I felt really that I was back, and I felt very nostalgic of what I had done and people I had met, and well, it was hard, but I've gotten so much strength from doing this experience that I still now feel the effects of it in a good way in my life, and I think I will always have it.
Yeah.
Always.
I bet.
And I definitely I want to. I know that at some point in my life I will go back to it, to this way. I will do it again. Wow. I don't know when, but I will do it
at some point. Do you reckon you will do like longer, or will you go somewhere else, or kind of what's the next big thing? What's the what's...
Well, there's a dream of doing another long distance hike in like for a longer distance. But really the next thing, now that I'm a nurse, I did these studies to care for people, and I'm also into music, so I sing in a few different projects, and I really would like to put together the experience of the walk, caring for people, and the music. So my dream would be to become my own boss and to organize hikes, probably on the St. James Way, and to with small groups of people, and heal through music.
Wow.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
And because I think this was also one of the best moments of my way, is that I could sing along the way, and I'm not at all religious, so this was not religious pilgrimage. It's more I think it's more of a spiritual thing.
Yeah.
And I loved going into churches or some other places, and I sang along the way at many places, and it was an amazing moment, and I would very much like to share the experience of the hike and the music, like with some people. So that would be the next dream.
Sounds like a really good mix together, and I think it's definitely something that people would love and want to join. I mean, I can see Ben's face now already, like I'm
definitely
in.
Something I can relate to. When you say you sang at places, do you mean like you got to perform, or you just sang, or like?
There was I used to go into churches because I just on my own, and just to experience the sound and enjoy the singing, because it was at first it was just for me.
Yeah.
But along the way there were some times where it went into the conversation that I did music, and some other people like also did music, and so at different times I could perform a little bit with other people. So there was one memorable night when I was the day just before I went into Spain. So there's this famous village which is called, small city which is called Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port, and it's the starting point of the St. James Way for many people. most of the Americans and Koreans and people from around the world who want to do this way, they start from Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port, just before the Pyrenees. And during that night at the dormitory, we talked about music, and the people taking care of the dormitory, they asked me if I wanted to sing at the Christian. They do a Christian celebration every night for the pilgrims who believe in God and want to assist. And so I agreed, and so I could go and sing for many people in that church just before going through, like in the Pyrenees. And this was like, I don't know how to describe it. It felt so good, and even if I'm not religious, I felt something during that moment. Yeah,
it's really cool how not only did you get to do this dream of yours, but in this dream of yours, you also got to do other dreams of yours, if that makes sense.
Exactly.
Really, really cool. We're stripped back from a lot of stuff, not just, we still have...
It's very. I think it's similar because I had less things with me, but I had more comfort at some places I stayed in.
Yeah.
So sometimes I was in good places with all the comforts, but sometimes what I lacked was intimacy. I don't know if I can say that in English. Like when I went to a dormitory and I found that for one exceptional night I was alone in the place.
Yeah.
Just I could take a shower and take my smartphone and put some music and sing in the shower. Yeah. I was so happy because most of the time there was always other people. Also, that felt like a luxury.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so cool. Well, we are back on now, so we can keep talking. You can keep chatting about that as well if you want. Keep talking about the singing in the shower. But no, that does sound obviously really cool, and
just had a big conversation where we could have recorded some magic stuff, but the laptop went out.
Yeah, Benedict earlier played on the laptop for a bit too much, and the laptop died. So, lesson to you: don't play on your laptop for too long. And we are back on
Talking
and
of
running.
laptop and technology, what did you have with you? Do you have just your phone and? Or did you find you weren't on it as much? I guess because you have to walk. And...
I had my phone, and some people asked me are you gonna post something on the social networks, or are you going completely offline? And I hadn't really decided before I was on the way. I was thinking I'm gonna do what feels right at the time. And I found that with just my smartphone, I sometimes, maybe every 2 weeks or so, I was posting something on Facebook. I'm not on Facebook anymore, but I did that at the time. And I think it was perfect for me because I still at some point I needed to feel a link to the people that I had left behind. So it was a bit comforting, but I was not at all addicted to it, and I rather found that I could stay offline for a few days on a row, and I didn't really miss it. But I needed the phone anyway because there were some parts of the way when I went off track from the official way, so I needed a map with me, and
navigation.
Rather than carrying everything with me, I had a map on my phone, so I could I was never lost.
I guess that when you I found it anyway in this life, when you kind of go off social media and all that for a few days, sometimes it's almost kind of switch, and it's the opposite, and you don't want to go back on it because you're enjoying the silence of it all so much. Did you kind of find that as well?
Yeah, I really did find that. Yeah. It was I found that it was true for social media, but it was true for so many other things, that when I went on this hike, I felt free of any ties. Like even I could tell everyone, okay, I'm going away for 4 months, so no obligations, no administrative things to think about. I didn't care of, like, I didn't have any emails, or it was very, very freeing.
Yeah.
And this is maybe something I struggled with most when I came back. And even a few days before I came back, when I told people, okay, I'm going back on that date, I began to again have some ties and some obligations being scheduled, but living without a schedule and without being reachable all the time, it's very freeing.
We relate. We definitely relate. How long did it take you? So, like, when you finished the walk, did you go? You know, did you catch a bus straight away, or did you stay in Spain for a few days, or what was kind of?
At first, when I was thinking of the end of the way, when I was maybe 1 month in or 2 months in, I thought I was gonna make it as long as I could. So I would walk slowly or at the end, and I would stay for a few days at some places. But I was so very exhausted when I finished that I really felt like I had lived the experience to the end, and I found what I came to find, and I was really at peace with myself to go back when it ended. So when I finished walking, I stayed 1 day in Santiago, and then also when you stay, you're confronted with the fact that everyone else you met on the way, they are going their own way. Some people continue to walk somewhere else, or they go back home, and you feel that the hike is finished and that everybody is going their own path. And so it felt okay for me, at least, to go back quite soon after I finished walking.
Yeah.
But I did something when I finished walking. I went back to Santiago, and I got myself, this is very cliche, I got myself a tattoo.
Oh, cool. That's cool. Of the hike.
Yeah, it was, I've always wanted to get a tattoo, but I needed something to be really, I needed it to be really meaningful.
Yeah.
And I thought about it, like, for a very long time when I was walking, and there was a sentence that I saw. You know, when you walked away from even from France, you begin to see messages that people leave on the way. So sometimes it's a tag on a wall, or sometimes there are some people who were walking the way and who decide to welcome people, so they buy a place, and so they also put messages in front of their house, and so you have many amazing sentences and messages that you find on the way. And there was one who was repeating along the way, and it's quite a stereotype, but it was you are loved, like the sentence, you are loved. And I felt this was, for me, the perfect summary of what I had learned on the way. It was I had learned that no matter the choice I make in my life, that even if it's a crazy choice, even if I decide, even if I have friends and I decide to take a different path than them, and some people are still gonna love me and appreciate what I am and for who I am. And I always have how to say, as I'm not very confident in myself, I felt that it was enough for me also to love myself, that I didn't need like always to have some external proof that somebody else loved me. So I thought it was the perfect summary of what I learned on the way. And so I decided that this would be the tattoo I asked for myself.
I think that's really awesome because, like, obviously you said that, you know, it's a bit cliche and stuff, but actually, you know, I don't know that, like you said, you wanted something meaningful, and that is just, you know, that is...
Something so powerful.
Because when you said, I got a tattoo of, you know, of the hike, I imagined, like, a hiking shoe or a mountain or something.
This is so much
But
more
there's actually so much
meaningful.
more behind that tattoo, and at first glance, you know, people might look at it and be like, oh, cool, you are loved. But then you tell the story, and then that's the magic. And for you as well, you know, it's deeper than just the sentence, and it's a really good way to remember something.
Yeah, I'm very happy I went with it, and the sentence is surrounded by the shape of a shell, because I don't know if you know, but the pilgrimage like symbol is a shell. It's coquille Saint-Jacques. I don't know how you say it in English.
I've definitely heard of it before. Yeah, I'm sure Mum listening to this will know, and she'll message us.
We'll put it in the notes.
Sorry, I don't know exactly the translation, but you know, it's really everybody has them on their bags. Many people have them on their backpacks, and in the Middle Ages, when people did this pilgrimage, they went until the ocean and they found a shell on the beach, and they went back home. It was, at the time, it was said to be the proof that they had walked until the ocean. And so it's still the symbol of the St. James Way, and so yeah, the words are surrounded by a shape of
That's really cool.
that shell.
Well, I'm definitely going to look that up and find that out, because that sounds really awesome. But this, honestly, like we were saying when just before we press play again, this whole story is just like, keep going, throw more at us, tell us more. Like, we have so much more we want to know, and I'm sure that when we eventually finish this call, like, we'll probably look at each other, or we'll start texting you like, what about this? What about that? Tell us this. One thing.
Don't hesitate to do it.
I won't. Don't worry. One thing I did want to ask is very random and probably not that important, but how are your feet at the end of it?
It's a good question, because you know the feet become the center of your universe when you walk such a long way. They were a bit strange looking, because actually I walked most of the way in sandals. Yeah. So hiking sandals without any socks. So so my feet took the sun during the 4 months, and there was almost no rain. So you could, when I removed the sandals, you could see the shape of the sandals on my skin.
That's awesome. How long did it stay there for?
Oh, actually, if you really look closely, you can still see them now.
No way.
Yeah, I've never been so tanned, suntanned at that time. It was I'm not very. I may be a nurse, but I'm not at all careful with the sun. I don't like to put on sunscreen and stuff like that. So yeah, my feet were dark brown, like the rest of my legs too. Yeah. But I almost had. I didn't have any trouble with my feet. I was very, very lucky. Okay. Just at the beginning of the way, maybe after 15 days, I had some blisters. But only like 1 or 2 blisters, and then I changed shoes, which was a risky move, because everybody, like most people, know that when you go for a long way, you should wear shoes that you've already broken a little bit. So those were new sandals, so I had to buy them in France. I had to get them in France, and so I walked with them, and I found that it was so nice to walk with your feet like in the fresh air and not being stuck inside heavy shoes. This was very lightweight, and it was it was nice. And since then I didn't have any trouble with my feet.
Wow. Lucky, very lucky.
Yeah, very lucky, because I saw some other people, they had much trouble with their shoes and their feet. Yeah.
Couldn't even imagine. Yeah. What? Speaking of the weather, what was the weather like? Did you ever have like any really bad weather, or were you lucky and have sun and that the whole time?
Honestly, I left the last day of June, and I stopped walking end of October, and I had maybe 7 days of rain during the whole trip. So it was good weather almost all the time. Awesome. And there was one day in France when I had a very big thunderstorm. And actually, when I went on the way, I had two fears. One was thunderstorms, and the other was stray dogs.
Yeah.
So those were the two things that I was most afraid of. And I had one big thunderstorm, and it was very, very scared, but it went fine.
Yeah.
I could find some place to sleep. I was not in my tent that night.
Yeah.
And the what was unfortunate is that the week of rain, I had it at the very end of the trip.
Oh no!
So when I got to Santiago, the day I went to Santiago, it began really. It felt like fall. And before that, I felt like it was an endless summer until the beginning of October, and then the fall came just at the moment I was going to Santiago.
Yeah. It's almost like you hit the end, and as you hit the end, the kind of universe just released everything and just almost like washed it away, is how I imagine it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, wow. Well, as I said, I mean, we could keep going with so many questions, but we won't keep you for much longer, and we will continue to ask questions as they come over the next little while. But last few, just to finish off this incredible podcast that has, I'm sure like we're probably going to wake up tomorrow and just walk now for the next 4 months. Get addicted already. But what advice would you give to someone who's looking at, taking that kind of hike, or, as you said it yourself, taking the less trodden path,
going on a journey,
taking their journey, What would you advise?
I would really advise to kind of listen to the signs that you get from the universe, and not be afraid, especially to question the way you live your day-to-day life. I mean, thinking that it really can be different, and even if since we're young we're fed a certain kind of way to live, that you can question it, and you can really decide with a bit of imagination and maybe a little bit of time, and you can decide to go and make your ideas and project make them true. And I think it especially maybe go on retreat of some kind. It doesn't have to be hiking or it can be a different thing, but try to get to a place where you have less noise from the day-to-day life, and really listen to the signs you receive from the universe, because I think that really things happen for a reason, and when you have something you really want to do, the stars will align so you can do that thing if it's really right for you. I think things get easy and you can do it.
So such a good way to put it. Wow.
something you're yet to tick off your bucket list. If you have one, if not your list of grand experiences, I'm sure you have plenty. What's one of them? Where do I start?
It's difficult to choose, but I really hope that one day I will be able to do a long distance hike in the United States and more into the wild and have a even more extreme experience of hiking for a very long time and still meeting people, but more in a more remote place. So the PCT is definitely the Pacific Crest Trail is definitely something I wish I could do at some point. And when I was on the way, I met actually someone who I was following on YouTube.
Oh, wow.
And she does all kinds of very long distance hikes, and I found her on the St. James Way, and I could talk to her, and it made the dream even more tangible for me. I really want to do it in the future. Yeah,
that's awesome. That's cool. A last one. What mantra do you go by?
I would say that it's the sentence that I talked about earlier. So I would say "you are loved."
Yeah.
Because this is still something I have to repeat to myself. Not every day, but most of the time. Yeah.
Wow,
you are definitely loved. We love your story. We love your passion and. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, it definitely has, and I guarantee it lights up. I know it will light up Mum, for starters. She's going to love this. And be prepared for her messages as well. And I'm sure it's going to light up so many others as well, because, to those listening to this, let us know, because, you've lit up our room and you're not even in the room. So, it's honestly incredible.
Thank you.
But thank you so much for sharing your story with us, and
thank you for having me.
Thank you, and we'll definitely ask more, and hopefully also perhaps bump into you in the future at some point too. Maybe do a hike together.
Yeah.
That would be
cool.
Great.
That would be really cool. Play some music as well. You and Ben can play some music together.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
With pleasure.
Awesome.
Cool.
Fab. We'll have a lovely rest of your Saturday and weekend.
Thank you.
And I'm sure we'll catch up soon.
Too.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You have been listening to the Less Trodden Path podcast with Laura and Benedict. Make sure you subscribe to us on whichever platform it is you're using. If you would like to feature on the Less Trodden Path podcast, then head over to our website, thelesstroddenpath.com. Thank you for listening. The Less Trodden Path podcast is sponsored by imakesounds.com, music for content creators. If you're looking for royalty-free music to feature on your own podcast, blogs, YouTube videos and more, then head over to imakesounds.com.